right, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a new day and welcome to another struggle meal video. This meal is super easy and I'm sure a lot of you have made it at one time or another, but we're going to be making crispy bean and cheese tacos, and here are the things you need to buy for it. So I got my prices from Walmart because we get stuff delivered from Walmart. So the first thing is a 16-ounce can of refried beans. Great Value brand is the cheapest. Now I know some of you are thinking, why don't you just buy a bag of beans and you'll get more out of it? But there are folks out there who don't have the ability to cook a pot of beans. They just might have the ability to warm them up in a frying pan or a microwave. They may not have a slow cooker or a Instapot. They might not even have a pot. And some people just want quick and easy. So you pretty much pay the same price for a bag of pinto beans that you have to make or a can of refried beans that are already done for you. So the choice is yours. But here we have a 16-ounce can of refried beans. And we also have a 20-count pack of flour tortillas at $2.12. And we're not even going to use all of the flour tortillas, so you're still going to have some left over for another meal. All right, so the next thing we're going to buy is an 8-ounce bag of shredded cheese. And again, we're not going to use it all. So this was $1.97. So we're going to go through the total cost of everything we need to buy for these crispy bean and cheese tacos, provided you have something in your house to fry them or toast them with, whether it be butter, oil, it's up to you. So let's go through the cost breakdown. All right, so let's go through the cost breakdown of what we purchased for these crispy bean and cheese tacos. We, again, just summarizing what we purchased: 1 can of refried beans for $1, an 8-ounce bag of shredded cheese for $1.97, and a 20-count pack of flour tortillas for $2.12. So this total cost was $5.09. So if you have $5 and some change, you can go buy these items and make some tacos. All right, so let's further break down the cost to make these crispy bean and cheese tacos. All right, everyone, so just before we go on, I just want to let you know, for these struggle meals, I am not going out to buy ingredients for the purpose of these videos. These are things we already have in the house. I am just showing you the cost of it for the sake of you seeing how cheap it is to make these meals if you have the money to go out and buy it or you already have these things in your house. So going through the final breakdown of this to see how cheap it was to eat for 4 days for lunch. I'm just talking about lunch. So all of this meant each taco cost 36 cents, and I ate 2 tacos each day for 4 days. So I ate lunch for 72 cents a day for 4 days, and that meant the total cost to eat lunch for 4 days was $2.88. So less than $3 I ate lunch for 4 days. And they were good and they filled me up. So this is just something I would eat on a regular basis. So it's not necessarily a struggle meal for me, but it is a regular meal for me. And it is a very cheap meal for me. So I hope you enjoyed this part of the video, which was the cost breakdown. And let's now get into the regular video where I actually just make them. All right, everyone. So I am getting ready to make my crispy bean and cheese tacos. And this is indeed a struggle meal, as you saw from the snapshots of how much each item cost. From the beans, tortilla, the cheese. Oh, I got to get my cheese. How dare I forget the cheese. All right. So, oops, sorry. I'm bumping the camera mount here. Okay, so now, like when you do corn tortillas, you have to warm them up to make them pliable. flour, you don't necessarily have to do that. I never warm up flour. They're already pliable. So now this amount of beans came from 1 can of refried beans, and that's a lot. So if you're just feeding yourself or feeding 2 people, or even if you've got kids to feed, you can make quite a bit of these crispy tacos. So tonight I'm just going to make myself 2. This is one thing about these types of meals. I love these types of meals. So having to eat a struggle meal like this is no big deal for me, because this is something I love to eat anyway. I grew up with struggle meals, so this is nothing new for me. Alright, so the amount of tacos you're going to get depends on how much beans you use in each taco. So I'm just going to spread it out. I warmed them up, but you really don't have to make them too hot, because you're going to fry these anyway. Not fry them. You're going to toast them. And all I do is put some on my stovetop griddle, put a little bit of oil with butter, and then toast them with that. So, and I want to stretch the beans as much as possible, so I'm just going to put that amount, and then some cheese. I left the refrigerator open. I was wondering what Gypsy was pulling out of there. Not just kidding. Alright, so I'm just going to throw some cheese on there. Now, you can add whatever you want to these, even your refried beans, if you want to add some jalapenos in there, whatever you want. But just keep in mind, these are supposed to be struggle meals, so the goal is to keep them cheap. Now, $5.09, not a bad price for all this stuff, where you're going to get multiple tacos. Alright, so now I'm just going to fold that over, and it stays. See, it's not cracking or anything. Now, by the time this particular video comes out, you'll have a few meals, struggle meals on here, and you'll know by then, because I'm only making 2 for myself tonight, so I'll have all this extra because Glenn doesn't eat this stuff. I'll let you know how many tacos I got out of these beans, because I'll end up having some probably for lunch tomorrow. Refried beans go good with a lot of things. I could even have some of these with some eggs in the morning. I'm pretty excited about this collaboration. Like I said, my very first collaboration. And let's see if we can help some people out through this difficult time. Alright, so there's my 2 tortillas. Oops. Now I'm going to get the griddle warming up. Probably should have done that already, but that's okay. And I'm going to cover the beans up in case I want a third one, but the rest of this will probably be eaten tomorrow. Alright, so let's get to the griddle. Alright everyone, we're ready to put these on here. I like to put the cheese side down first so it starts melting. That's nice and golden crispy. That looks delicious. If you really think about it, struggle meals are actually some of the best meals. Who needs that fancy stuff? Beautiful. That's going to be so good. Alright everyone, so here are the crispy bean and cheese tacos. You could call it a crispy taco, you can call it a quesadilla, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. I'm just calling it food to eat. So, alright, so now I actually usually like to cut mine in half just to let it cool off so that it cools off a little faster. And the beans start coming out. Ooh, that's hot. Alright everyone, so there it is, another struggle meal. Buying all 3 ingredients, $5, just over $5. But look how much more you're going to get. If this is all I am eating tonight, that means this meal was way cheaper than $5 because now I have more tortillas, beans, and cheese for other meals.